everybody. Welcome back. This is episode number 2 of All Things MotoGP. I'm here at the On the Throttle Studios in Redwood City, California, and tonight we're going to be joined by a special guest, Jordi Garcia, who's online right now on Skype to a computer to my right. But tonight's show is going to be, hey Jordi, can you hear us? Jordi.
Well, we'll check back in with Jordi.
We'll check back in with Jordi. Obviously, Telefonica is still working on the internet in Spain. So while they get the bugs sorted, we will talk a little bit about Qatar, where they've had more preseason testing since the last show we did. And we'll talk a little bit about Moto 2. And I don't know, we'll just have fun with it, because that's the main mission plan for this TV show. Or not TV, sorry, webcast show. I think we'll just start with a little drink right now of the special juice. While we're waiting for Jordi to call us back, I'd like to talk a little bit about Qatar, since most people have never been there. I may have mentioned that I think it's still the richest per capita country in the world, about 30,000 euros per person that's living in Qatar. But when I was last there in 2008, there were about 1 million people there, 200,000 of which were Qataris, and 850,000 were workers that did a lot of construction or worked the hotel industry there, or just, were helping to build the infrastructure of that country. So the local Qataris are the ones with the oil, and everybody else is just kind of working to keep that regime going. Well, Jordi tried to get back in touch with us, but was unable to, and I've got the spinning beach ball of doom on another Mac. So if we could go to the Qatar shots, we can just start talking about Qatar.
We can do that.
All right. You may recognize this guy who worked in 250 last year, 2009, working with one of Dovizioso's old 250 Hondas that was given to Hiroshi Aoyama. He was a mechanic for Ratha Park Wheelerot, and for a while we were on the same team in MotoGP. So his name is Manolito, and he's also known as Pedar-san. So if you look on YouTube and do a search for Pedar-san, you'll find some interesting clips of maybe jumping off a 2-story balcony at a hotel into a swimming pool. I don't know. You'll have to do some research, but we can go to that shot. Back to where we were.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Yep.
Everybody flies to Qatar, and it's only a couple hours to get there from Europe. So even though it's a flyaway, it's not very far. Maybe a 6-hour flight. Oh, back to the first one. And it seems like the only airline that I've ever used to get to Qatar is the Qatari one. So it's really luxurious. They obviously have great desserts that stick to the food containers, as shown here in this photo. But it's a really, really nice flight, and most of them are booked so that you fly overnight to get to Qatar. And you fly overnight, that way when you arrive at 6:30 or 7 a.m. in the morning, you're able to go directly to the racetrack and start working. And this is done so teams with smaller budgets won't have to pay for a hotel room the night before. Next photo, please. This is what some people will do on a Qatari flight the night before getting to the racetrack. It's often a way that people in GP will use to get to sleep if they're wired and excited before an event, or just too wired to go to sleep after an event. But nice scripture on the Coca-Cola cans there, and that's what it's like on a nice flight. On other not so nice flights, you don't get any of that. Jordi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Ah, fantastic. We are joined by Jordi Garcia. Everybody say hello.
Hello. Oh!
There he is.
Ah, he's back. Great. Listen, I know that this video feed is not the clearest, but in my experience, this is very typical of how Skype calls come out of Spain, and it's just, there's no way around the bandwidth issues. And as those countries are still developing and people are getting more computers and downloading more information all the time, using the internet more, that has always been the type of Skype call I've been able to have. So the video of Jordi is not going to be very clear, but this is also to protect his identity because he does work for Dorna SRL.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Jordi, you are technically an American citizen at this point?
Still am.
Still am?
That is correct.
Do you hold
Yep.
a dual citizenship?
I do. I have both passports.
Okay. Do you have a Spanish passport or a Catalan passport?
Spanish.
Spanish passport. And this is because your father is Spanish.
That is correct.
And how old are you right now?
I'm 25.
25? And
25, yes.
how long have you been working in the series?
The beginning of 2007, my first season.
Okay. Now, if you've been there for 3 years, this is your 4th year going to be there. How many different jobs for Dorna have you had?
All right, let's see. I've been a technical assistant. That's being the MacGyver of being the MacGyver there. You know, you have to do anything on call, pulling cables, doing 10, 12 kilometers of cables, fiber optic cables, triacs, doing whatever is necessary. You know. The past 2 years, I've been working in television production. It's a little more calmer. It's a logistic field, you know. It's a very good job.
Ah, great. Oh, look at that. Can you see this photo that we've got up, Jordi?
Give me a minute.
Do you see it?
No, I can't.
Ah.
That's the control room.
Well, it's the control room that you've sent us with all the stacks of servers and computers.
Right.
This is typical of a setup that you'll have at a flyaway race, where you
That's
have
correct.
an office that you have to go to and just set up all the equipment. You'll see that all the boxes that the
Yes.
equipment is in are mounted on wheels so they can be rolled around.
Yeah, the big fly cases, we need a forklift at all times, a 2.5 ton, 5 ton,
Oh, wow.
in all the races.
And this goes to
Yeah.
all the races.
Yes, it does.
Now, on the flyaway races, everything has to be shipped by airplane, but on the European races, you guys have specific trucks that carry all the camera equipment around?
Yep, we have on fleet. I think in Dorna we have at least 2 trucks that carry all the containers and everything else, and then we have specific trucks. International program feed, it has its own specific truck. There's a couple more trucks. You know, it's just a big fleet. It's impressive.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to ask you a few more questions about. I remember when I would travel to the races, I was living in Barcelona, so I would always fly out from there. And Dorna is based about 40 minutes outside of Barcelona by bus in Sant Gervas or Sant Cugat, which is it?
Saint Just.
Sant Just, that's right. And most of the people working for Dorna live in the area, in or outside of Barcelona. So very frequently, we'd be on the same flights. My team used Dorna's travel agency at one point. So it'd be one thing where you get on a flight and all of a sudden there's 50 people from Dorna that you recognize, that you see at every race. And I called them the Dornistas because we saw them at every airport. Everywhere we went, you'd see people from Dorna. About how many people from Dorna go to each event?
It differs between European races or flyaway races, like in the United States. At least, 140 people go to Laguna Seca at least.
Yeah.
From Dorna.
Yeah, I remember it was about 150 as the average for most of the races. So you'd see all these people, and you'd see them not only on airplanes, but every time you went out in a city, say we were in Malaysia and you went into Kuala Lumpur, no matter where you went, you would always run into people from Dorna. So it was kind of like an extended family, not just the teams, but then you also had Dorna. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about, or some of the things I wanted to ask you about, were the differences between Dorna and the DMG that we've got. Because obviously the DMG sends people out to all the AMA races, and Dorna sends people out. So 150 people fly out to every race or drive. You know, obviously they have to drive the trucks to the events over there. And how many people?
At least.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, if we talk about the Valencia Grand Prix, I mean, at least everyone that works in Dorna is there, you know, and that's, I don't know, 250 people. You know, it's just everyone's there from Dorna.
Now, how many people work for Dorna back at the home base in San Just? The ones that don't go to the races. Is it a bigger group, maybe 500 people, or how many Dornistas are there really?
No, there's less than that. Maybe in Barcelona, 300 people at least. Well, 250 to 300.
Gotcha. Can we see another photo from Jordi?
Oh yeah. There we go. There is the workstation.
Yeah, this is one of the workstations. Who gets to sit at those places, Jordi?
Give me a minute.
Sorry for the technical issues, everybody. It's a little difficult bouncing between video and photos and everything else with Spain's internet connection. So Jordi,
It is. It's pretty slow.
it's relaxed.
All right. Here is this is the international program feed. This is IPF. This is in Australia too, Phillip Island.
Ah, okay.
This is the control board, the motherboard of a program feed, giving the live feed to everyone around the world.
How many different cameras do they choose from to create the live feed? Don't
Say
forget.
there's 18 cameras on the track, 90-something onboard cameras, the gyro cam in the air, the helicopter, the ground cam, the camera that's on the ground for when they're leaning around the corner. I don't know, maybe 125 cameras.
So, and different people watch all these cameras and will say, I've got something good, put this up right now?
Yeah, the replay guys, the graphics. I mean, there's a lot of seats there, you know. Yeah,
it's massive. Now, I remember that you used to ride on the helicopter with the gyro cam.
I did the onboard, the antenna. Well, it was before we had all optical fiber and the antennas and everything. We used a system that the antenna was on top of the helicopter. And that was the onboard feed, you know. The cameras on the bike would, the transmission would go straight to the helicopter, back to the TV compound, and that's how we do get the feed. It'd be a little more shaky, but nowadays it's really nice.
And those are proprietary cameras that are on board the motorcycles?
No.
Oh, that's all stuff you buy.
It's stuff that you could buy and put together into a system, you think?
Well, it's a little more advanced than that, but it's, I mean, you can buy an onboard camera, but not at this, I don't think how we make them, but you never know.
Yeah. I don't want to put you under a bus or anything and ask you any questions that you can't talk about. But Jordi, we've got a question from a viewer right now. He says, his name is Moose Knuckles. He says, I work in TV production in a small Canadian market. Any suggestions on how one might get into MotoGP TV production?
Well, you can always send your resume to Dorna, I mean, in Barcelona. You know, there's always a chance to get in.
That's true. Dorna does hire people from just about every country. It is extremely multicultural, from Japanese people that work there just so they can conduct interviews with Japanese riders to a team of French people, Germans. I remember the security force is almost all exclusively German that's at the racetrack.
They are.
And they know how to drink.
And they are good guys, too.
Oh,
mean looking, but they're good guys.
Yeah, definitely. Also, racing's a family business. And it seems that if one family member is interested in racing, either the children get involved or the wife is interested, or maybe people don't even become husband and wife unless both of them like racing. You come from a racing family. How many people are working in racing in your extended family?
Just my dad. That's about it right now. I mean, family and friends, it could go on, but just my father.
So you're not counting your dad's girlfriend?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
What about your girlfriend?
My goodness, you're just putting me under the bus right now. Yes.
What do you mean? All I'm saying is that, with the travel schedule that you have to go through to get to all the races, it makes sense that you date somebody that works in the races, alongside you, or at least you get a chance to see them, or somebody who understands the rigors of the travel.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. My girlfriend's great. She's the best thing that's happened to me. Let's put it that way.
Ah, okay, good. How many days would you say you're at the racetrack per year? Or traveling?
Let's say more than 200.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
One thing that I really miss not being in the races right now is I miss the travel, and also I find that now that I'm no longer on a schedule where I can say, oh, in October I'm going to be in Valencia. Now that I'm not on the racing schedule, it seems that everything is, I've either become disconnected to a large degree, or it's hard for me to focus on a more day-to-day life schedule now that I'm no longer, working for the series. We've got a question here from what looks like the call sign from the cat from Bill and whatever. The question is, when is everything going to go to HD?
Everything in HD.
And, well, I think what the question is when is Harley Davidson going to buy MotoGP?
It's funny. Well, everything in HD, I think it's going to happen this year. I mean, yeah.
You guys are working
this
on
year.
it then?
Yeah. We're working really hard. We're working really hard on that.
Excellent.
I mean, HD, onboard cameras, HD, everything, it's the main focus right now.
Listen, Jordi, do you want to look at some photos of Qatar with me and you can add some of your experiences from that country?
Sure.
Great. Can we go to picture 3 of the Qatar shots, please? This is the view from my hotel room one year. You can see how the buildings just keep coming up. So while everything in Qatar is in the middle of the desert, the actual metropolis is quite built up. Maybe not, at the same level of New York City or Chicago, but it just sprawls on and on. Where do you guys stay when you're in Qatar, Jordi?
We stay around the city center, where the ice skating rink is inside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you're in the desert and you're really wealthy, you build a hotel with an ice skating rink in it. Next one. This is, typical of the old downtown, where you'll find a lot of street markets and street vendors. And obviously, since the practices and the races are at night, now there's a lot of free time where you can walk around the city and kind of explore if you can't sleep in between practice days during the work week.
It is the city center, but the older side of Doha, no?
Yes.
Maybe 10.
You recognize this boat?
I do not. Where's that?
In the poor side of town. I don't know if the desert dried up or what happened there, but it's a monument.
That's cool.
How about this one? Ringing any bells?
1 minute.
Does it look like a house or a church?
That is a church.
Good. Okay, so we're looking at the same thing then. This is a shot of the racetrack. One of the sponsors on the teams I worked with in years past was Pramac, and they make these large generators, which you can see here in bright green on the screen. In the background, you'll see a motorcycle just barely you can see one. But this is the actual racetrack at Qatar, and whenever you see green around a corner on one of the video shots, it's AstroTurf. So when you fall off a bike and slide, typically the rocks in Qatar are quite large, at least golf ball size. The gravel destroys bikes a lot more in Qatar than it does, crashing at a normal European racetrack.
Were they campaigning for the race at night?
No, they did provide the generator. Sorry, I've been asked a question. Did Pramac push to have a night race at Qatar? No, I think this was just a way for MotoGP to keep in line with Formula One when they held their night race in Singapore. Just if one series says we're going to do a night race, then the other series says, well, we have to, to be the premier race series in our field, we have to do the same thing. So it made sense to do this as a night race simply because it's unbearably hot during the day.
I have another question for Jordi. What kind of challenges does that pose to video production at night?
Jordi, we've got a question in here from the audience.
Sure.
What does having a race at night, what kind of problems or complexity does that add to TV production?
Well, it is nighttime. I mean, Sunday is just, it's crazy. It's the first race, we don't have the Jerez test this year. It's just the first race, and we're all expecting the worst things to happen, It's just, but, we always go through it, and we always come through it too. It's a night race also. It's colder. You have to get everything done after the race, so we have to work through the night. It's just a little hardcore, but we have a good team at Dorna and doing all that kind of stuff, and that's how it is.
Great. Let's go to the next picture, please. Number 8. This is 2007, I believe. But this is typical of the type of celebrities that you'll find at the racetrack in Qatar. Whereas in Laguna Seca, we've had Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise and other national celebrities. In Qatar, maybe there are 5,000 spectators because it's simply not a big attraction when you live there. And you get a lot of sheiks that come out. Here's a question for you from Moose Knuckles, Jordi. Does Dorna provide a different feed to the teams on pit lane than they do to the TV audience?
A different feed? No, they don't. They give the same international feed to everyone. I mean, on the other screens they have the official times, and
right.
That's how they keep track of everything. But nope, everything is the same for everyone.
So do the teams have access to their rider cams? No.
Also, the teams don't have access to their rider cameras at all, do they?
No, they don't.
Could you request it? Could a team request it after maybe a significant crash?
Yeah, of course. Of course, they can go back and get the replay or anything they want. It's just asking the question.
Okay. Here's a good shot of the first night race that was held in Qatar in 2008. The factory Marlboro Ducati is there. Behind it is the Ducati, I believe, of Tony Elias. You'll see that the graphics are different for a night race. Here, this is a good shot I took at night. Obviously, the flash from the camera has highlighted the Elite on the side of the bike, and this is because on the first year we used reflective graphics. Are more teams going to be using reflective graphics at night? Jordi?
I have no idea about that. That's a good question. Reflective graphics.
Well, we used it, but we really couldn't tell very much on the TV feed whether or not the bike stood out more. I remember some of the still shots looked fantastic because the graphics really popped. Oh, one other thing, they
do look really nice.
Do you have problems sleeping during the day in Qatar when you're working overnight?
I do. I mean, well, if the jet lag kicks in too, it's a double negative. But no, you have to get used to it. If you've been working here a couple of years, you get in the routine and just keep on going.
Yeah, jet lag doesn't seem to affect you after a few races. It just becomes the norm.
Yep, that's
Jordi,
correct.
I took a video one year when I was there, and we're going to put that video on now. I think it's only a minute or 2 minutes long, but this will give you an idea, for you audience members, this will give you an idea of what it's like to try and sleep during a Qatari day after you've been working overnight and got back to your hotel at 7 or 8 in the morning. Is there audio with the video? All right. Everybody can hear us now. During the video, people weren't allowed to hear us because we were talking about how horrible it was to sunrise and sunset when all the bells and mosques and everything were going off.
It was pretty bad. Waking up to those sounds.
Well, it's just a different part of the culture over there. So I think that's one thing, or another thing that people working in the series have to get used to. It's not just a jet lag or necessarily a type of food, but also the customs. And in Qatar, being Muslim, everybody worships 5 times a day. So it's just I thought it was neat when I was there. I was like, oh, cool, and that's obviously why I took the video, so everybody could hear it.
Yeah, but after the 5th day, it just, it gets to you a little bit.
Okay. But after Qatar, if we go to the last photo on that set.
Liam,
Yep.
Liam, did you tell him what time it is right now in Spain?
Oh, everybody, it's 3:27 in Spain. 3:27 a.m. So Jordi's here in the middle of the night on a work day because he wanted to be able to share his experience with everyone. So we have to say thank you to him very specifically for being up at 3:30 in the morning. Also, thanks to his girlfriend who's there. I'm sure she's awake, laughing at him from the side at 3:30 in the morning. What are you drinking right now, Jordi?
Just the normal red can.
Oh, Estrella Damm, the beer of Spain, produced in Barcelona.
That is correct.
So there's the last picture there.
Jordi, where's this photo taken? When you see it.
This one?
Yeah.
This is taken at the mall, right?
No, this is at the airport upstairs in Doha, where they've
really?
got one of the few A&W restaurants that I've found in recent years. So after every race, typically when the race is over, we rush to the airport so we don't have to spend another night in a hotel. And I convinced everybody on my team to try and have a root beer float because they'd never had something like that, and it was blasphemy to them, especially the Italians, to put ice cream into a soda. But for me, it was great. Jordi, you want to look at some bike shots with me? Let's talk about
Sure.
MotoGP 2010 season.
All right, give me 1 second.
We're going to take a moment to load up those videos. I'm going to toast to you at 3:30 in the morning because it's been a while since I've seen you, and next time you're in California, I've got beers waiting in my place.
Cool. Last time I saw you was at a Japanese restaurant.
Yes, that's right. That's right. A Japanese restaurant in beautiful Indianapolis.
Yes.
Okay, I have photo 1 up. Would you like it, sir?
Yeah.
I think it's actually... It's
I'm going to take a moment to answer some questions that we're getting from the audience. JL Unlimited asks, will Dorna let more active duty military attend the events in Qatar or from any of the other Middle Eastern bases? Do you know that active military get to go to the races for free, Jordi?
Yeah, for sure. The whole grandstand is for free in the weekend in Qatar, so whenever they want, it's free.
It's free for everybody, basically.
Yeah.
From what I remember, in years past, you could get free tickets anywhere to go see the race, or you just had to show up, and it was enough of a deal that you drove out in the middle of the desert to the racetrack that everybody just let you in. Like, come on in, please. And it's fun driving out to the racetrack there because it's, 2-lane highways in the middle of nowhere, and every rent-a-car that a team member is driving is pinned, 160, 180 kilometers per hour right next to the sandy dunes. Do you guys from Dorna race in the morning on the way to the track?
No, but I've seen some racing, and I've seen some people changing their license plates for the radar going to the circuit too,
Oh, yeah. I remember when there was no radar going to the circuit.
Permanent marker.
It was one of those things where you could easily run off the road and do several spins in the sand and nothing really bad would happen to you.
All right, I've got photo one.
Okay, I'm going to answer another question here from Dave to Van. He says, 5,000 spectators. Well, I don't really understand the question, but he says, do they expect attendance to take off, or is it a pet project from some sheik? The riders must hate racing with no real attendance. Yeah, I think every rider likes to race for a packed house. It's obviously it's a performance and it's a show on top of being a competition. And when there's not many people there, it just doesn't have the same atmosphere. And this is why traditionally the racing season doesn't start until you get to Jerez in Spain. So whether or not there's a race one in Qatar or in Japan, wherever, it's all about getting back to Spain. What are Spanish races in Jerez like, Jordi?
Well, it's craziness. The people there are fanatics for MotoGP. They love it there. They block the streets off. They do tricks, no helmets. It's it's a different feeling. I love it there. I love Jerez. It's a great place, great people, and a great atmosphere.
Jordi, do you have any knowledge of what Dorna's trying to do with the U.S. market, whether or not they're trying to get speed to show more of MotoGP or just kind of build the audience in the United States?
I don't know anything really about that, Liam.
Yeah, I know
they're trying to build it a little more, advertise more, but on the TV aspect, I have no idea.
Do you have any idea how much content Dorna needs to create the footage during the week of the race, like for highlights packages or interviews? Like how many minutes of content are recorded over a race week? Do you have any ideas?
It's endless. There's no requirement. Whatever you can get, whatever's going on, the big moments, the big crashes, whatever's going on, the winner. Anything that's relevant, they tape it,
Right. I remember seeing you walking through the paddock with a backpack and a microphone. What job were you doing at that point?
I was with BBC. That's overseas. I help out with BBC with the video and audio tech. I help out the commentator then.
Ah, okay.
Is it the same TV effort that goes into the MotoGP.com?
Jordi, does BBC use the same content and the same camera people that MotoGP and Dorna use? And the online footage?
The online footage, I don't know, but BBC has their own camera, their own crew, even overseas, They bring their own people.
And that's basically, they're using that specifically for interviews for the BBC, and then they'll use the other footage from Dorna to show maybe a rider passing through a corner or a crash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Jordi, I've got a question here from someone in the audience. Jules Chisek, photographer extraordinaire, is here. Jules, what's your question?
The question is, how much
Jordi, Jules is asking how much of the footage is archived?
Well, from now on, I think everything's archived, but from 1992 until I don't know when. I mean, just the races and everything is archived, but I don't know how much is really.
Okay.
I don't know that much of it.
Yeah, that's one of those things where I guess if they have just terabytes and terabytes of storage, they're going to keep it until they either need the space or clear it. I mean, storage is so free, and storage is something that's very important to people working in MotoGP. When I was out there for a couple of years, I lived out of this laptop here. This was the third one I bought in 3 years while traveling, simply because I would fill the hard drive up, or machines would break down, a hard drive would break, just from the constant travel. And I don't know if it was the different working environments or the fact that maybe when I was smoking too much, I burned out a computer. But regardless, these become key to everybody in MotoGP. This is a nice 250 gigabyte hard drive, and everybody on my team was busy trading movies with one another, because when you're done working at the races, you go back to the hotel and you put a movie on to go to sleep. So constantly, different team members on my team, one would download BitTorrent stuff in Italy, and another would download in Spain, and whoever had a better connection could get more movies, and we would trade these things like cigarettes in prison. They were worth something. Jordi, do you and your guys do that sort of thing? Or I seem to recall Go ahead.
Yeah, we trade movies all the time. We trade whatever we got, when we're on the road. Is whatever you got, trade it.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, I want it.
Jordi, we've got a question here.
I got a question for
Sure.
you. At last year's MotoGP, you had a 3D camera crew come in and do a test of some 3D filming. Is that going to go into anything this year, perhaps?
Jordi, could you hear the question, or I can repeat it for you?
No, I heard most of it. Yeah, we're going to do 3D stuff this year. More than last year. Who knows? The guys were great last year, and the final product came out really good. We'll see this year.
Are you allowed to talk about that movie production that you mentioned to me? All right, next subject. So, Jordi, why do you like your job? If you like your job. I mean, obviously it's a family business, so.
I do. I like the job. It's that's how I met you, I like it a lot. And the traveling, the people, the different cultures, everything, it's great. But the traveling gets to, it's a great job. I love it. But after Valencia, you're just wiped out. You need 2 weeks just to stay on the couch and do nothing.
Yeah, I think one thing that most Americans at least don't understand is, and this is not really a dig at Americans, but we don't travel all as much as people from other countries do. Like in Europe, it's so common to go to another country on the weekend, or just to want to see the rest of the world. In the U.S., we don't have a lot of passports issued to people, and we don't make the effort because I think in the U.S. we have too much of a working culture, and nothing exemplifies that better than in the U.S. you have to work a year and then maybe you get a week off. Or after a while, it's become standard to have 2 weeks off per year to travel or home improvement or whatever. How many weeks off is it typical to get in Spain per year?
At least 3 or 4 weeks. You get a month off at least for Christmas, the whole December you get off. And it's really nice.
And August too, right? Well, the rest of Europe seems to take August off.
Yeah, the rest of Europe, yes. The people that work in MotoGP, no, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, you only get winter break.
Yeah.
What's your dad do for Dorna, if you don't mind my asking?
He is the security manager of Dorna.
So everybody that watches the MotoGP races or any of the MotoGP DVDs, like the season review and whatnot, has probably seen your dad, but nobody knows who he is?
Yep.
That's Jordi's dad, everyone. He's the guy that's breaking up the fight between Valentino and Max Biaggi many years ago, and he's everywhere, and I owe him a great debt because when I was trying to get into the series, He recognized my face and helped me out. And so say thanks to your dad for me, Jordi.
I will.
Good.
No worries about that, Liam.
All right. Now to a bike shot. The first one, finally.
The first one is
the teams.
class picture.
Yeah, class picture, 2010, FIM. Jordi, do you know what the FIM stands for?
Better to you. I have it on my shirt, senor.
Yeah. You got to say it to the audience. It's not just me, it's the audience.
I can't say it. It's in French. You want me to say it in
All
French?
right, all right. Yeah, I know. See, Jordi is still half American. Won't speak that. Jordi.
I still have that accent, you know? Let me hear you say it, Liam.
I don't know, Federation de Motociclistas? I probably said it wrong.
You forgot the Internationale.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, the FIM. And the class picture. Okay, here we can see what looks to be Hanspree on the upper right of your screen is actually the Pramac team. They've gone green and want to promote natural, renewable energy sources such as solar and wind power. So the bikes in MotoGP that look kind of similar to the Hanspree superbikes are the Pramac team. Next to them with the afro is Marco Cinnamon-Jelly. No, Marco Limoncello. Jordi, what's that guy's name? With the Simoncelli with the afro. And him and Marco Melandri are riding the San Carlo Grissini Hondas. San Carlo is a huge chip and snack company in Italy specifically, where you can go into any convenience store or gas station and you'll see a nice big setup filled with chips and photos of MotoGP bikes. I mean, it's kind of rad to be able to go into some dime store in a village and find MotoGP bikes in the dime store. It's like nothing we've got in the States. Next to them, we've got Randy Depugnier riding for Lucio Cecchinello's team, LCR. And Cecchinello's been such a talent spotter that he's had Casey Stoner on his team, and he's had, I think Dovi was with him at one point. No, Dovi was with Scott. My bad. Anyway, thank you. We've got Randy. And one thing Lucio's been really good at is attracting sponsorship. So oftentimes the bike is mostly white, but you'll see different sponsors on the bike depending on the event, like electronics, super discount stores and online stores. And here we've got GV motorcycle luggage on board. And next to him is one of the rookies of 2010, Hector Barbera. Jordi, what's your take on Barbera, and what would you say the other guys at Dorna think about this rider? Because I know on my team with the Spaniards they had an opinion of him, and the Italians had a different opinion of him, and he's controversial.
He is. I mean, he's a good rider. I mean, he's going to be one of the rookies for sure. First or second, top for me. The bike is not my favorite color, but I mean, a yellow Ducati, bueno. It's I don't know. Let's see. I think he'll be up there for the rookies.
Can you tell us a little bit about his sponsors, since you're in Spain and his sponsors are Spanish? Most Americans won't recognize who's sponsoring him.
Well, his main sponsor is like the Yellow Book, the white pages, yellow pages. It's the same.
That's massive.
Yeah. All right.
That's massive. If you were to imagine here in the United States, if the Yellow Pages or even somebody like AT&T were to sponsor a single rider in the AMA, it's mind blowing that a single bike team from Valencia has managed to pull the Yellow Pages of Spain, like all the Yellow Pages. So I can expect all the phone books there are going to have a motorcycle on the side of it.
That's true. And his other sponsors, one of the banks, I don't know where it's from in Spain.
Bancaja.
And
they sponsor a lot of 250 and 125 efforts. They've been connected with Aspar for quite a few years now. Then we've got Rizla Suzuki, obviously sponsored by the finest rolling papers that you can roll your tobacco products with.
That sell a lot of papers.
They do sell a lot of papers. They sell a lot of papers. Then we've got the Monster Tech 3 Yamaha duo. Easily looking at these photos, it's very clear how tall these Americans are, especially these Texans. I'm not sure if it's in the beef or that they had to work harder in their local race series in Texas, like Schwantz, but those guys are tall and thin. Then Hiro Aoyama's next to them, sponsored by Interwetten. You can't tell on the video feed, but his eyes are closed because he's being very polite and smiling. Then we've got TIM and Ducati in red with Nicky Hayden and Casey Stoner. TIM is a company I'm not too familiar with yet at this point. I'll probably have to do some research on that. And the Fiat Yamaha duo, Lorenzo and Rossi. And the Repsol team with Pedrosa and Dovizioso, both sponsored by Alpine Stars Leathers. They have a lock on the Repsol team. Alpine Stars also has the Ducati team. It's looking quite strong for them this season. But the class picture is something I wanted to talk about because it's an extra pressure that's added to the first event, either Qatar or wherever you have to do the photo, because it's the first time you really have to get all your sponsors on the bike. The paint scheme has to be finalized. The leathers have to be finalized. And depending on the team or the rider, you know, you can go through several different leather suits until you find the right color combination, or they're just happy about where the logos are placed and how the graphics go on the suit. So it's kind of critical to get your bike and your rider ready for this picture, because if you don't, it's a black eye and it shows your team didn't get it together before the beginning of the season. We've got the three Americans in MotoGP here. Nicky Hayden sporting the fancy hair. We've got an exclusive Nicky Hayden interview that Dave Williams got in Daytona, so we're going to show that to you guys in a couple of minutes. We've got Colin Edwards, who sent me a great email recently saying that he would love to be on the show. So expect Colin Edwards to be telling it like it is in a future episode of the All Things MotoGP show. And Ben Spies listening attentively. I'm sure he's going to be a force. And it's going to be really interesting to see how he develops not only as a rider, but just develops as a team with Houseworth, because it's one thing for them to master a superbike in the AMA. It's another to master a superbike at the world level in World Superbike. But when you start seeing what the GP bikes are capable of, not in terms of outright performance, but in adjustability and how dynamic they are and responsive they are to changes, it's really going to be interesting to see if Ben Spies and Tom Houseworth can figure the bike out to the level that Burgess and Rossi have, or Guy Coulon and Colin Edwards. Jordi, what's your take? Which of these three Americans is going to do the best this year?
Hard question, because I think Nicky will do really good this year. You know, I think he's got a handle on the Ducati, a little late, but he's doing good on it. And, you know, Ben Spies is Spies. I don't know. He's going to surprise this year for sure.
Yeah, but that seems to be what everybody's saying. He's got the potential. He's going to have one breakout ride, or he's going to podium, or maybe get into contention for a race win. Everybody is expecting Spies to do at least one thing, because traditionally as a rookie you're just supposed to learn your first year, but we've seen other rookies come in and win in their first year. Pedrosa won a race in his fourth race. Lorenzo, took 3 races before he won a race, and now we've got Spies that's showing he's got the speed to run up towards the front. And everybody, is expecting at some point that he's going to do something extraordinary. If we can go to the next one.
Yeah, for sure.
This is just to give
Liam,
you
don't you think
Go ahead, Jordi. Sorry.
Liam, don't you think Nicky looks really good this year or what? I think he's going to do really good. I mean, the times he's posting.
I think he's definitely gotten a better handle on the Ducati. Just exactly the best way to describe it, getting a handle on it, because to me it's always been akin to riding a Bronco, something with horns. You got to grab onto those horns and force the bike to do what you want, and then once you unleash it, you just got to hang on and let it do it. And we've seen that time and again with Stoner, who's able to just ride the bike as it's bucking and twisting out of a corner, and it looks so out of shape, but by the next corner, he's on the brakes and he's totally back in full control. So I think if Nicky's been able to adapt and grow to the point where he's able to do that with the bike, he's definitely going to have a couple of good races this year. He looks a lot more focused than he has in years past. But he's also had some personnel changes on the crew that, I'm hoping to get an interview with him at some point where I can ask him specifically, because I know some team members have shifted to the satellite team, and some of the data and electronics people have also been switched around. So we're hoping for that interview in the future. And if not, I've worked with his current data guy for a couple of years, and I'm sure we'll be able to speak with him at some point. We've got a question from JL Unlimited. He says, what is the expectation realistically for Ben? Jordi, what do you think? I think we just covered that by saying he's going to have at least one breakout race.
Yeah.
For
sure he'll do one race. I don't know. You never know. It's just we'll see. In Qatar, let's see. That's a good first race, to see Ben.
Yeah, I think it's a track that doesn't have the same pressure that a European race does. If you go to Mugello or any of the Spanish races and you've got 130,000 people that are just chanting, and it's a wave of pressure and a wave of heat that's coming off of the grandstands, and the hills are alive. When you're at Qatar, it always feels like a test. It's a lot more relaxed. What do you think the team is expecting from Ben? Is another question. For me, I think that they're waiting for the experience of Colin Edwards to kind of brush off on Ben. It's been very interesting to note that, on most teams, the older, experienced guy does better than the young guy, except in a few recent years where Nicky Hayden won the championship. Nicky Hayden was the older guy on his team at that point, but he's been, teamed with Biaggi, he's been teamed with Barros, he's been teamed with older people, Valentino Rossi. What do you think the team is expecting from Ben this year?
I think they're expecting, just what Ben should do. I think he should be top 10 at least. Yeah, I mean, to get inside of the top 4, it's going to be tough.
Jordi,
the middle of the pack.
Middle of the pack? Okay. I have higher expectations for him just because I think he's got what it takes. And some of the people I've spoken with that are ex-GP now working in World Superbike, they competed directly against him or worked with him in last season, and they expect he's going to do really well. And I've already stated I think he's going to be third at the end of the season in the championship. Would you bet a beer? Jordi?
Pretty quiet over there.
Jordi, yeah, you would like to bet a beer?
Bet a beer. Let's bet 2.
All right, 2 beers. We bet 2 beers.
Third place, you're saying?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Next photo, please. Just to give you an idea of what the Hondas, the factory Hondas and the satellite Hondas are going to look like. Obviously, the Repsol Hondas are the bright orange, is very striking. And 3 of the satellite Hondas are white and red. Even the leathers look similar with the sponsor logos and placements, so you're going to have to pay attention as far as who is riding what bike. I think, does Dorna have any problems typically, Jordi, with telling which rider is or who is which rider during certain events? I know that in years past, I had a hard time telling between Tony Elias with his yellow helmet and yellow number on a blue and white bike, and I couldn't tell between him and Valentino Rossi on a blue and white bike with yellow numbers and helmet.
No, it's not really a problem because, we know the riders, we know the numbers. Maybe we can make a mistake here and there, but that's I think that's pretty normal. But we shouldn't make mistakes like that. That's I mean, with Valentino, I don't think so. But with Tony Elias, maybe. I don't know.
Just a gratuitous shot of the Givi bike. I really. What's that?
No, nothing.
Jordi,
just a cheap shot.
Do you speak Catalan?
No, I don't. Unfortunately, speak a few words, but not even to get by.
How about your Spanish?
Spanish, I get by on that. That's a different story. Yes.
Good. How many Americans would you say are working in MotoGP right now, going to the races?
I mean,
not counting the media.
The cameramen, maybe. I mean, the photographers, maybe 1 or 2. No, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but not counting the media. How many Americans can you count?
Well, in Dorna.
No, just in the series. Like, you know, there's almost no Americans in 125 and 250.
A handful.
A handful. So you're one of the
less than a handful, yeah.
You're one of the lucky few then. Well, half lucky, since you're only half American. Where are you from in the States anyway?
I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts.
Okay, I thought you were from Boston this whole time.
No, I was just rounding up.
Gotcha. Jordi, one of the things I remember about you, before I met you, I used to see you at the races, and I was like, somebody keeps telling me I need to meet a guy named Jordi from Dorna, but there's like 30 or 40 Jordis at every race, at least. Jordi.
That is true.
The way I was able to tell you is because of the way you wear your hat. Do you mind getting your hat for us? Any of you?
Sure.
You got it.
Sure, let's, here we go.
Not yet. Jordi, you have a very specific way of wearing your hat, so I just thought I'd throw out some tribute to you right now and
thank you very much.
Wear a hat kind of like you. I've one-upped you, though, with this one. Can you see it clearly?
Let me see it. I can't see it. Let me see it.
It's coming. Wait for it.
Wait for it. Those of you in the audience that will hopefully see this beautiful one of 50 hats made.
The feed, there it is. The feed's about 10 seconds back.
Ah.
There it goes.
Jordi, do you recognize this one? Come on, man, you're American.
Give me a second.
Give me just hitting Europe now.
It takes a little while for the feed to get to Europe, so we apologize to the Europeans.
It's going by boat.
Anything? No?
Oh, bummer.
All right. Well, anyway, Jordi, this was the Nicky Hayden celebration celebration hat that Alpine Stars made for the USGP.
Is that a limited production?
Oh, there were only 50 made.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
Son of a gun.
Yeah, look at that. It's still got the sticker, Jordi. I know.
That's how you gotta rock it.
I know that you always leave the sticker on your hats.
I do. Well, you know, that's the gangsta style. Come on.
All right. Speaking of gangster, you also you were telling me that Dorna, because everybody works outdoors, or you know, they're always at every event and they're very visible. They've made some sort of deal. Oakley is the official sponsor of Dorna for eyeglasses.
That is correct. Everyone in Dorna gets a pair of Oakleys. I mean, you can pick your pair, and they're a really good company now. And Oakley's a great company to have on board with Dorna.
What other perks do you get for working for Dorna? I mean, you get a full uniform. That's obviously you're wearing the shirt this year. And
yeah.
I'm sorry?
Is it AXO?
No, it's all A-Stars.
Oh, at least.
Yeah, A-Stars, Alpine Stars sponsors all of Dorna, so that's why you see their logos heavily plastered everywhere. Jordi, how long does it take to put all the logos on a racetrack?
You mean on around the corner, or one of those that promotor works on?
Around all the corners, because I know that you guys put signs up everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
Every time the camera pans out to a big view, you either see the title sponsor of the race, like a Liche or somebody, or you see you know, one of the other sponsors. How long does it take to set up a racetrack?
It's different. I mean, that's promotor. They put all the signage up on the track, and that's a really hard job. I mean, 2 to 3 days at least.
How many
And
people?
Just stopping to eat lunch, just to really put all the signs up on the track. It's a hard job.
How many people are doing that?
Well, it's different because they put up the tent for the whole Dorna office when we're off-site, you know, and they do the signage too. So it'd probably be maybe 30 guys around there.
Yeah, that's right. And at the European races, there's a lot more Dorna people, as we mentioned earlier. How many Dorna scooters are there at each event? Because constantly whizzing through the paddock and, you know.
Yeah. Well, at least 40 to 45 Yamaha scooters.
Oh, that's right. Yamaha is the main sponsor for scooters for Dorna. So you're going to see 45 Yamaha scooters all decked out in Dorna livery if you make it to a European race. Jordi, do you pack up all the signage and take it to the next race at the racetrack? You do?
Yeah, we do. That's all logistics right there. And sometimes it's different, so we have to, I mean, each and every race has different signage and different sponsors, and it's just choreographing everything at once. You know?
We've got another question, Jordi. What is the official language of Dorna? Do you have to speak Spanish if you want to work for Dorna?
The official language is Spanish, but you don't have to speak Spanish. I mean, the journalists, some of them are from England. They don't speak Spanish. They speak Spanish, but they speak English too, you know. And